Daddy, I'm pregnant by this wild man. Alien woman introduces human man to her family. The sky above Nerethra 7 didn't so much shimmer as it wobbled, like badly set jelly. Alex hung upside down in a tangle of organic vines, one boot missing, his hair full of some kind of purple pollen that smelled like burnt almonds and regret. The wreckage of his shuttle, Spicy Tuna, smoldered quietly in the crater behind him, emitting occasional hisses like a disgruntled cat that had swallowed a toaster. "Okay," he muttered, trying to dislodge a particularly clingy vine from his armpit. "This is fine. Totally survivable. Not dead, yet." A low growl echoed through the misty jungle, followed by a wet squelch and something that sounded disturbingly like chewing. Alex froze. "Right, okay, less fine." The vine snapped, and gravity did what gravity does best. He landed hard, face first in what he hoped was mud and not some kind of sentient compost. The growling got closer. He rolled over, squinting through the haze, and saw it. A quadruped the size of a bear, coated in slime, with 8 glowing eyes and a mouth that kept opening in new places. It licked its lips, on 3 of its faces. Alex reached for the nearest object, a bent metal panel from the shuttle. "Shoo!" he yelled, waving it like an idiot. "Bad thing! Go away!" The creature snarled and lunged, and then it exploded. Not in a gory Hollywood way. More like it popped, turning into a puff of lavender smoke and confetti. Where it had stood now, stood something entirely different. A tall woman, skin a pale shimmer of opalescent silver, hair like midnight woven with starlight, and ears, long, tapering, twitching slightly. She crossed her arms, not so much smirking as accusing him with her face. "You were about to fight a Lamoxian acid beast with a shovel?" she asked, voice laced with something like laughter wrapped in mild disdain. Alex blinked. "Technically, it's a shuttle panel." "Ah, that changes everything. I could have handled it. It was already digesting your... I was distracting it with flavor." She stared. Then, with a sigh that managed to sound both regal and exhausted, she reached down and yanked him up by his collar. He stumbled, nearly face-planting again, and she steadied him with one graceful arm, which was unfair because she smelled like the inside of a nebula and he currently reeked of smoke and singed socks. "I'm Elira," she said. "Alex," he replied. "Sort of. Sometimes. That wasn't my fault, by the way. The crash. A freighter sneezed on me mid-jump. Whole route got rerouted through a meteor shower and something called a spatial hiccup. You ever flown through one of those? It's like the universe forgets how time works and you wake up wearing your own pants on your head." She began walking away. He followed. The jungle gave way to something stranger. Crystalline trees pulsed softly, their roots shifting underfoot like lazy serpents. The ground hummed with bioluminescent moss, which giggled occasionally. Small orbs floated past, whispering riddles that made no sense, like, "Why does the spoon envy the spork?" and "All hail the one who sneezes with style." Elira didn't explain anything. Alex tripped over a singing rock and asked, "Are you going to tell me where we're going?" "To my home." "Do I have a choice? Do you want to be eaten by a damp tunnel with teeth?" "No?" Then yes. They reached a ridge and looked out over a valley of impossible geometry. Alex's brain politely gave up trying to process it and substituted an image of a goat juggling oranges. Floating structures hovered in the air, connected by thin strands of light that bent gravity and common sense. Elira gestured. "Welcome to Northkel. And yes, it is real. And no, you're not hallucinating, although you will probably dream in reverse for a week." He stared. "Is this a tourist destination? Because the Yelp reviews would be wild." She ignored that, leading him across a bridge made entirely of spider silk and antique spoons. At the other end, a door opened, except it wasn't a door. It was more like a portal, shaped like a door pretending to be a waterfall. He stepped through and immediately sneezed himself into a new pair of pants. Whoa. Inside, the chamber was enormous. Translucent walls pulsed with organic light. Creatures floated in tubes, some resembling jellyfish, others resembling slightly confused calculators. A massive throne sat at the far end, flanked by beings so still they might have been statues, except for their blinking, glowing eyes. Then they turned and frowned, simultaneously. Elira stepped forward, head high, confidence crackling in the air like static. "Father, brothers, this is Alex, the human." One of the beings stood. His form was draped in layered silk, his face sharp, symmetrical, ancient. His ears were longer than Elira's and bent slightly backward, as though always listening for betrayal. The being's voice was ice-dipped in silk. "You brought a wild man into our sanctum?" Alex raised his hand. "Hi, wild man here. Slightly less wild with a bath and some tea if that's an option." Alira's eldest brother stepped forward, looming. "You smell like desperation and burnt protein." "That's just earth cologne," a younger brother snorted. "Does it come in failure and insecurity?" Alex grinned. "I have the entire set. Got it from my high school reunion." The tension cracked, just a little. Someone coughed. One of the statues might have smiled, or twitched. Alira didn't smile, but she did place a hand on her stomach. "I'm pregnant," she said. "By him." The silence that followed could have powered a moon. Alex's smile froze. "I'm sorry, I think I hallucinated that." Her father rose, all 12 feet of him. The brothers turned in unison, some blinking rapidly, others sharpening their claws or memories of old grudges. Alex gulped. Then Alira added, "And I plan to keep him." One of the brothers groaned. "You picked the snack you rescued from a crater?" "He makes me laugh." Alex raised a finger. "That's what my last date said before setting my apartment on fire." "Long story." The father's eyes glowed. "Do you think you can tame him?" Alira's smile was slow and dangerous and absolutely not reassuring. "I know I can." Alex sat cross-legged on what he hoped was a chair. It kept shifting shape under him, occasionally purring, and once made a noise that sounded disturbingly like a fax machine begging for help. Across from him sat 5 brothers, collectively taller than most mobile phone towers and roughly as friendly as a cactus in tax season. "So," Alex began, clasping his hands together like a man trying to pretend he had a plan, "anyone here like bread?" No one answered. The eldest brother, Volkran, if Alex remembered correctly, tilted his head like a bird preparing to file a complaint. "The last outsider to enter this room was reduced to ash and then banned from afterlife reincarnation." "That's rough," Alex said. "But on the bright side, I'm not very flammable. Mostly water and poor decisions." A cough somewhere in the chamber. Alex swore one of the statues behind him giggled. Alira sat to the side, legs crossed, fingers laced over her stomach, looking like she was watching a particularly entertaining opera with an absurdly doomed protagonist. Her ears twitched every time Alex said something stupid, which was frequently. Volkran leaned forward. "You have defiled our bloodline." "I think defiled is a bit dramatic. We had soup. There was music. A gentle planetary alignment. At most, I'd say I lovingly destabilized it." A different brother, possibly Crake, who Alex had mentally labeled the grumpy one with cheekbones like cliffs, snorted. "Do you even know what it means to carry Thalvari blood in your offspring?" Alex scratched his chin. "Is that like carrying lactose intolerance?" Alira finally spoke. "It means, dear human, that you've inserted yourself into the genetic destiny of a race older than most stars and grumpier than most librarians." "Oh," Alex said. "Cool." "Cool?" Volkran barked. "You'll be hunted, challenged, tested. Your union threatens centuries of psychic control and political arrangement. There are treaties older than your species' alphabet that will ignite because of this." Alex whistled. "And I thought meeting my ex's parents was bad. At least they only threw mashed potatoes." The floor beneath him shimmered. The chair grew legs and tried to sidestep out of the room, offended by proximity. Alex slapped it back into place. The father, still silent since the last chapter of this awkward encounter, finally stood. His presence was less man and more looming storm cloud with credentials. He didn't walk so much as glide, like a bureaucrat with nothing left to lose. "I am Lord Tamoran, keeper of thought, warden of lineage, the mind king of Verelium," he said. "And you, Alex, spawn of Earth, have planted chaos in our womb." Alex blinked. "I'm sorry, is that a metaphor or am I being charged with botany?" Tamoran pointed a single finger, long and glistening with faint psychic mist. "You will prove yourself, or you will be erased from her memory. We possess technology that can rewrite her mind like a scroll dipped in plasma." Alira stood. "Try it, and I'll rewire your spine into a harp." One of the brothers gasped. Another muttered, "Spicy." Tamoran stared at his daughter. "So be it. Let the trials begin." The chamber walls pulsed once. Doors, 6 of them, appeared out of nowhere, each marked with a strange glyph and one unfortunate cartoon of Alex's face, poorly drawn and mildly insulting. Alex raised a hand. "Just checking, do these doors lead to metaphorical tests of the soul or actual death?" Crake smiled. "Yes." "Terrific." He stepped toward the first door. It hissed open, revealing a circular chamber filled with floating cubes. The floor was a swirling pattern of fractal geometry, and the ceiling blinked like it wasn't sure if it was a ceiling or a judgmental sky. Test 1, the path of thought, a voice boomed. Can I use Google? No. Okay, now it's hard. The cubes spun, rearranged, formed riddles in midair. One read, what walks on no legs, swims on thoughts, and smells like déjà vu. Another pulsed with his old internet search history. He tried not to look at that one. He sat cross-legged again, took a breath, and tried to think. Walks on no legs, swims on thoughts, déjà vu. He shrugged. Memory? The room dinged. A small orb floated down and high-fived him. The door opened to the next chamber. Inside, gravity was reversed, and the floor was on the ceiling. Test 2, the path of reflex. Alex promptly fell upward and hit the ceiling, which bounced him like a mattress filled with sass. He flailed through an obstacle course of spinning rings, rubbery beams, and what he was pretty sure was a very aggressive salad shooter. He landed, panting, as a scorecard appeared. It read, Style, 210 screaming 910. Survived, somehow. Another door opened. By the time he got to the 4th chamber, the path of temptation, Alex was covered in bruises, glitter, and the scent of alien oranges. In the room stood 3 clones of Elira, each with slightly different haircuts. Choose the real one, a voice said. Alex blinked. Easy. He walked up to the one rolling her eyes. You hate this kind of nonsense. The clone smiled. Correct. The final test came not in a room, but in a garden. It bloomed with impossible flowers that sang lullabies, trees that whispered forgotten languages. There stood Tamorin. You've completed the trials, but I have one final question. Alex braced himself. Tamorin pointed at the sky. Why? Why did you come to her? Why risk everything? Alex rubbed his neck. Because when she laughs, my whole damn universe feels less broken. The wind paused. Morin squinted. That was almost poetic. I've been hit in the head a lot today. Behind them, Elira appeared. She said nothing, just took Alex's hand. Tamorin turned. Then let the judgment be postponed. Alex blinked. What does postponed mean? Elira smiled. It means they haven't decided whether to marry us or kill you. Oh, neat. And the ground opened beneath them again. Alex tumbled out of the portal, screaming like a man who just learned his favorite snack was sentient. He landed on something soft, which immediately hissed and slithered away, apparently insulted that he'd mistaken it for furniture. He sat up groggily, brushing flecks of glowing moss off his shirt, and found himself in yet another room that defied the rules of both architecture and common decency. There was no floor. There were hovering discs, each one the size of a dinner plate and spinning like caffeinated frisbees. Below them, a void pulsed gently, sparkling with distant stars and possibly angry space geese. He couldn't tell. His depth perception was still recovering from the gravity slip in Chamber 5. A sign floated overhead, Welcome to the Gauntlet of Integration. Beneath it, in much smaller print, participants waive all rights to consistent physics. Elira floated beside him, completely calm, of course. Her ears twitched as she watched him flail his arms, trying to balance on a disc the size of a medium pizza box. I swear, he grunted, nearly falling, your people do not believe in ramps. She reached out and grabbed his wrist just before he slipped. Consider this cultural cardio. Is this part of the trials? No, this is brunch with my uncles. From the far end of the room, 3 new Thalvare figures shimmered into existence. They wore flowing garments made of living fiber that rearranged itself into insults in 37 languages. Their expressions ranged from suspicious to outright murdery. Elira, said one of them, voice sharp enough to slice through a stubborn data crystal. This is the wild man? Alex waved from his wobbling platform. Ah, yes, still feral, but I've had my shots. Another uncle stepped forward. You bring him here as if he is a joke. He is a joke, the third one muttered. Elira tilted her head. He also happens to be the father of my child, holder of the spicy tuna crash record, and the only living creature to beat grandmother at reverse telepathy chess. I didn't know I was playing, Alex added helpfully. I thought we were just glaring at each other in silence. One of the discs under his foot gave a particularly rude wobble. He yelped and leapt onto another one, which promptly shrank to the size of a coaster. The uncles scowled in unison. He is unprepared, undisciplined, weak. Alex held up a finger. Now hold on. 2 out of 3 of those are accurate. The eldest uncle, Yiran, judging by the way the others deferred to him and his beard being made entirely of nanohair that occasionally rearranged itself into charts, snapped his fingers. The platforms froze. Alex sighed in relief and promptly lay down. Urine floated closer, glaring down. You understand nothing of what it means to join our bloodline. I'm beginning to notice a theme here, Alex muttered. Does anyone on this planet want a fun son-in-law? Urine ignored him and addressed Elira. Your mind is strong, but your emotions are fraying. Attachment clouds the path. Elira raised her chin. Emotion is not weakness. It is the catalyst of change. Alex sat up. Okay, wow. I feel like I just wandered into an alien version of a family therapy session run by space monks. A bell rang. A literal bell, out of nowhere. A floating orb materialized above them, wearing what looked like a referee's vest. Round 1. Domestic Compatibility Challenge, it announced in a cheerful robotic voice. Contestants will demonstrate cohabitation potential under stress conditions. Initiating simulation, shared apartment mode. Reality folded in on itself with a sound like a duck being fed through a harmonica. Suddenly, Alex and Elira were in a small apartment, complete with mismatched furniture, blinking appliances, and one bathroom that made threatening noises. The window showed a scenic view of boiling clouds and a meteor shower, which honestly wasn't even the weirdest part. You have 10 minutes, the orb announced. Begin. Alex looked around. Okay, what do we? A door exploded open. A toddler-sized creature ran in, shrieking in 6 pitches at once. Behind it floated an elder Thalvari, presumably a simulated babysitter, who immediately burst into tears. I think that's our kid, Elira said, squinting at the rampaging child. It's got my ears, Alex noted. No, it has my aggression. The toddler climbed the ceiling, dropped onto the couch, and began eating a cushion. Alex sighed. I'll handle bedtime if you do diaper rotation. We don't use diapers, we use psychic containment fields. Even worse. The room began throwing problems at them. A malfunctioning food dispenser that kept launching soup into the walls, an environmental control system that only responded to ancient poetry, and the child occasionally creating minor wormholes every time it sneezed. At one point, the sofa turned into a minor religious figure and demanded offerings. Alex tossed it a banana and kept wrestling the toddler, who had now learned how to hover and was chanting something that sounded suspiciously like curse words in binary. When the simulation ended, Alex collapsed onto the floor, covered in baby slime and regret. The orb floated back in. Score 67% compatibility. Bonus points for creative lullabies and co-parental telepathic shielding. Penalty for offering sacrilegious fruit to the sacred sofa. Urine rubbed his forehead. That simulation was designed to break the weak. Alex grinned. Yeah, well, I was raised by a single mom and a cat with anger issues. Your test is just Tuesday. The uncles whispered amongst themselves. Elira stepped forward. Next challenge. Urine hesitated. The path of bloodline memory. You will enter the well of echoes. Alex groaned. If that's just a fancy way of saying weird cave full of trauma, I'd like to opt out and go back to the parenting simulator. Elira took his hand. It's where you confront the legacy you're marrying into. It might try to eat your mind. Alex stared at her. You're really bad at selling things. They approached the well, a shimmering pool of pure thought. It flickered with images of past lives, wars, lost love, and one inexplicable scene involving a large duck in a council meeting. Alex stared into it, heart pounding. Do I jump in? He asked. Yes. Will I drown? No. Will I want to drown? Possibly. He took a deep breath, then he cannonballed in, and the well swallowed him whole. Alex expected pain, or at least dramatic music. Maybe an ominous whisper about forgotten destinies, or someone shouting, "Behold the chosen fool!" But the well of echoes just kind of blorped him into an infinite mental void with all the grace of a sock in a washing machine. He landed, not so much on anything as within a space that bent thought like taffy. There was no light, yet he could see. No sound, but his thoughts had an echo. A faint one, like his inner voice had rented a canyon. Hello, he called out, but his words came back dressed in different accents, one of which had a strong Australian twang. Great, he muttered. I'm trapped in a psychic interpretive dance performance. The air, if it could be called that, shimmered. A figure materialized, vaguely familiar, tall, regal, slightly annoyed. It was Elira's great-great-grandmother, assuming her lineage included time-traveling opera villains. You are the outsider, she said. Her voice was layered like a choir of judges. You seek to bind yourself to the Thalvarai. I mean, that wasn't the original plan, Alex said. I just crash-landed, fell in love, and now I'm being judged by increasingly glowy ancestors. You are unworthy. Correct. You lack discipline. Also correct. You are confusing. Alex shrugged. That's my brand. Suddenly he was surrounded by memories, not his but Elira's. Her first trial as a child, where she tamed a storm inside a dream planet. Her first heartbreak, when her pet Nebula dissolved mid-sneeze. Her decision to leave the path of sterile politics and seek the unknown. And then him. His face stupidly smiling. His arms wrapped around her after their first kiss, her mind rattling with emotions she'd never had the training to suppress. I love her, Alex said softly. Not because she's powerful, not because she's different, but because she makes me feel like I'm not a walking mistake. The ancestor blinked. You think love is enough? No. I think love is the start. The rest is work, and arguments over thermostat settings and fixing the leaky emotional pipes in your soul. She stared at him. Then, slowly, she faded, replaced by another vision, this time of the future. A child, small and luminous, chasing a floating data blob across a meadow that didn't exist yet. Elira, laughing. Alex, older, grayer, holding a cup of something warm and confusing, looking at her like she still held his universe together with a smirk and a side-eye. Then the scene shattered. He was suddenly surrounded by versions of himself, each from alternate paths. One was a warlord in a sleeveless jacket and way too much eyeliner. Another was a scholar with 9 degrees and 0 friends. A third ran a space food truck called Grillium Shatner. They all looked at him. The food truck one raised a spatula. You're not supposed to be here, says the guy who sells psychic tacos. They're emotionally spicy. The warlord version growled. I conquered a moon. I installed a composting toilet, the scholar sniffed. Alex held up his hands. Okay, this is getting weird, even by my standards. You're the version who chose love, said the warlord. Soft. You're the one who failed algebra twice, said the scholar. You're the one who microwaved a fork, said the taco guy. Okay, first of all, Alex snapped, that was one time. And second, I'm not here to impress alternate versions of myself. I'm here because I can't imagine a future that doesn't include Elira rolling her eyes at me while I try to toast alien bagels. The other Alexas stared. Then, one by one, they vanished, leaving only the real one behind. Wobbling slightly on his emotional high heels, but still standing, the void cracked. He landed back in the chamber, sputtering, soaked in metaphorical insight and actual sweat. Elira caught him before he collapsed. You did it, she said. I saw your grandma. She thinks I'm an idiot. She's not wrong. Tamoran stood at the edge of the well, arms crossed, ears twitching like satellite dishes detecting sarcasm. You survived the well, he said. That changes nothing. Alex flopped onto the ground. Well, it changed my opinion of meatloaf. I'll never trust it again. One of the brothers scowled. There is one final right, Alex groaned. Is it interpretive dance? Because I swear I pulled something in the parenting simulator. No, Tamoran said. You must join our minds. The confluence, share thought, truth, identity. Elira tensed. That's ancient, dangerous. Alex sat up. So is my grandma's chili. Let's do it. The chamber darkened. A spiral of light descended. Alex stepped into it, heart thudding, thoughts jittering like panicked squirrels. Elira took his hand. Their minds touched. He saw her memories, not the ones she showed, but the raw ones. Her fear the first night they met. Her certainty that he'd leave. Her hope, small and absurd, that maybe he wouldn't. Her love, unguarded like a secret garden full of sarcasm and stars. She saw his endless doubt. The loneliness he never admitted. The nights he practiced jokes in the mirror so people would laugh. His unspoken terror that he didn't deserve good things. And her, always her, breaking through that like sunrise in a cave. The confluence pulsed. Tamoran gasped. The brothers fell silent. The chamber exploded in light. When it faded, Alex and Elira stood, minds still linked. Congratulations, the orb referee said from nowhere. You're mentally married. That's legally binding in 42 systems and morally confusing in 12 more. Morin stared at Alex. You were supposed to break, Alex grinned. Get used to disappointment, Dad. Elira laughed, a real one. Not her usual smirk or polite scoff, but a genuine full-body laugh that shook the walls. The brothers blinked, one sneezed. For the first time, nobody objected, nobody growled, nobody even threatened mild disintegration. Alex turned to Elira. So what now? She raised an eyebrow. Now we plan a wedding that will definitely start at least 2 minor wars. And serve emotionally spicy tacos. Obviously. They walked out of the chamber hand in hand. Behind them, the universe recalculated its odds. The wedding was scheduled for the 4th rotation of the Emerald Moon, which, according to Thalvare custom, was considered optimal for psychic resonance and slightly less optimal for hairstyles. Alex stood in front of the grand binding altar, which was actually just a floating disc made of condensed starlight and judgment, fidgeting with his ceremonial robe, which kept whispering fashion critiques in galactic standard. "It says my posture is existentially concerning," he muttered. Elira appeared beside him, radiant and terrifying, her long ears adorned with glimmering memory braids that occasionally sparked with static visions of her ancestors approving or quietly regretting this entire event. She took his hand, and the robe shut up. "You ready?" she asked. Alex exhaled. "I have crashed into planets, insulted 5 uncles, survived a parenting simulator, and mind-melded with an entire bloodline of telepathic aristocrats, so no. But also yes, mostly yes. Okay, let's do this." A booming voice echoed across the galaxy-spanning amphitheater. It belonged to the High Elder of the Council, a floating cube named Morlax that believed deeply in tradition and unnecessary syllables. "Let the union of brains, bodies, and bureaucracy commence," it declared. A wave of confetti shaped like constellations exploded overhead. One of the stars sneezed. Alex hoped that wasn't a bad omen. As per custom, the ceremony began with the recitation of doubts. Each participant had to list their greatest fears, failings, and how they planned to ruin the relationship accidentally. Alex stepped up first. "Sometimes I snore like a dying hovercraft. I forget to recharge things until they explode. I panic under pressure, and my cooking has been classified as a mild space crime." Elira smiled. "I fear I may try to fix him too much, that I will underestimate his strength because it doesn't look like ours, that I'll forget how to laugh when things get hard," the council murmured. One elder nodded so slowly it created a time ripple. "Acceptable vulnerabilities. Initiate the sacred sharing of objects," Morlax said. Alex pulled out a small earth rock, just a rock, slightly smooth, slightly cracked, but deeply familiar. "This was in my pocket when I landed on your moon. It's from home. It reminds me I'm not just a guest here. I'm a whole mess of human things, but I want that mess to belong to you too." Elira held out a glowing shard of neural crystal. "This has been in my family for 7 generations. It holds the echo of my mother's first words, my grandmother's defiance, my brother's worst haircut. I want our child to hear it and laugh." The artifacts fused mid-air and turned into a very confused cactus, which was, by Thalvare tradition, the highest form of ceremonial approval. And then it was done. The union sealed not with a kiss, but with a shared thought, a flash of mutual memory, a convergence of love, chaos, laughter, and stubbornness. A tiny echo of a future not yet lived but already deeply rooted. The reception was held on a floating platform powered by dance energy. Every time someone hit the floor with enough enthusiasm, gravity pulsed like a bass drop. Alex was spun, tossed, and once accidentally teleported mid-tango, returning with a small mustache he swore he didn't grow himself. Elira's uncles sat in a corner, pretending to hate everything while aggressively tapping their toes. Tamoran actually smiled at one point, but quickly disguised it as a hiccup. The child, technically still in utero, was broadcasting joy to the entire room via low-level psychic pulses that translated as ticklish warmth and the mental image of 2 ducks learning to waltz. Later, much later, Alex sat alone on the edge of the platform, watching the moons wobble in their usual dramatic fashion. Elira joined him, bumping his shoulder with hers. "So," she said, "you've survived Thalvare trials, political resistance, dream caves, and one badly cooked wedding stew. What now?" He thought about it. "I think I want to start a garden." She blinked. "A garden?" "Yeah. Nothing fancy, something useless, just alive. Maybe cucumbers." She laughed. "The galaxy's first human Thalvare consort wants to farm cucumbers? It feels revolutionary." They sat in silence for a while, the stars humming softly. Somewhere behind them, someone started a chant in honor of the newlyweds. It quickly devolved into a drinking game involving liquid thoughts and a very suggestive fruit. "You've changed," Elira said. Alex looked at her. "How?" "You're still ridiculous, but you believe in yourself now." He smiled. "You helped." She rolled her eyes. "Obviously. A gentle buzz reached their minds, their child again broadcasting dreams. This one featured the family on a space hammock, reading books with zero gravity and eating snacks that giggled when bitten. "Do you think we'll be okay?" he asked. "We already are." The galaxy turned, and for once the wild man didn't feel lost in it. The end